Look, I know what you're thinking. I know how this sounds, okay? You probably already have me pegged, don't you? Another cheating wife, another selfish woman who blew up a perfectly good life because she was bored. And you're not entirely wrong, I guess. But you're not entirely right either. I need you to understand, really understand, why I did what I did and why I ended up where I am.
Just give me a chance to explain.
My name is Cassandra. I'm 34, and I completely, irrevocably destroyed everything I had. I was with Mark for 12 years. 12 years, can you believe that? We started dating when I was 22, right out of university. He was perfect. On paper, at least. And in real life, too, mostly. He was kind, truly kind, the kind of man who'd remember your mother's birthday and send flowers even if you forgot. He was reliable, always on time, always followed through. Stable. Attentive. Sweet, almost to a fault. My friends adored him. My family, they absolutely worshipped him. My mother used to tell me I'd won the lottery, that I'd found the kind of man women dreamed of. And she was right in a way. He provided a secure, loving home. He worked hard. He listened when I talked, or at least he pretended to. We had a comfortable life. A nice house, 2 dogs, predictable holidays. It was the picture of suburban bliss. The kind of life everyone said they wanted. But that's where the problem started, see? All that perfection. All that predictability, it felt like a cage. His attentiveness, it started to feel suffocating, like he was always watching, always needing me to be happy for him, to be happy. His stability, it became boring. Every Saturday was date night at the same Italian place. Every Sunday was brunch with his parents. Every summer, a week at the same beach house. His sweetness? It started to feel weak, like he couldn't handle anything real, anything messy. He never got angry, never challenged me. It was all just placid, like a perfectly still pond. And I was drowning in it. I craved a storm. I craved waves that would crash over me, something to make me feel alive. I told my friend Sarah this once, over too many glasses of wine. I said, "He's like beige paint, Sarah. Lovely, dependable, goes with everything. But sometimes I just want a splash of crimson, you know? Or fing neon green." She just laughed, because that's Sarah, but I saw a flicker of understanding in her eyes. I think she got it a little. The complacency, the quiet desperation. Then he arrived. He was everything Mark wasn't. He was a consultant, in town for a few months on a project at my company. He had this restless energy, these intense, dark eyes that seemed to see right through you, past the polite smile, past the "I'm fine, thanks for asking," and straight into the chaos underneath. He wasn't conventionally handsome like Mark, who had that wholesome, all-American look. Leo was edgy. A little dangerous, even. He dressed in leather jackets and ripped jeans, even to the office. He rode a motorcycle. He talked about philosophy and obscure indie bands and traveling to places where you truly felt alive, places without Wi-Fi or filtered water. He laughed loud, inappropriate laughs, and he challenged every single thing I said. Our first transgression? It started innocently enough, if you can call anything like that innocent. We were working late, just the two of us, on a particularly complex pitch. Mark was home, probably watching some documentary about sustainable farming, waiting for me to call so we could do our usual goodnight, I love you routine. But I didn't call. Not right away. Leo and I ordered takeout, shared stories, and somewhere between the pad thai and the lukewarm beer, he asked me about my dreams. My real dreams, not just the career ladder or the perfect house. And I told him. Things I hadn't even admitted to myself, let alone Mark. I talked about wanting to trek through the Himalayas, about wanting to write a novel, about wanting to just disappear for a while and rediscover who I was outside of being Mark's girlfriend, then Mark's fiancée, then Mark's wife. He listened, actually listened, leaning forward, his eyes burning into mine. And then he said, "Why aren't you doing it?"
Just like that.
No judgment, no platitudes. Just a direct challenge. And it was like a jolt of electricity. I felt seen. Truly seen for the first time in years. The thrill of that clandestine conversation, the secret shared intimacy, it was intoxicating. It was like a potent, forbidden drug. After that, the pattern began. Small lies at first. Working late, girls' night out, visiting my sister, Mark, bless his heart, never questioned a thing. He was too trusting, too fundamentally good to ever imagine I could be anything other than exactly who I presented myself to be. He'd just say, "Okay, honey, drive safe. Let me know when you're home," and I'd feel a pang of guilt, a tiny, fleeting flicker, but it was quickly overshadowed by the rush of what I was doing, the secret calls, the hushed texts. We'd meet for coffees that stretched into hours, lunch meetings that turned into stolen kisses in the back alleys near the office. Each lie was a thread in a growing web, and I was the spider, weaving it tighter and tighter around us all. I justified it all by telling myself I was finally getting what I needed. Emotional fulfillment. Passion.
Excitement.
Mark couldn't give me that, could he? He couldn't give me the unpredictable, the dangerous, the alive feeling that Leo brought out in me. So it was fine, right? I was just diversifying my emotional portfolio. That's what I told myself. It was the only way I could breathe. And then came the major betrayal. The physical affair. It wasn't a slow slide. It was a deliberate, conscious leap. Leo and I were at a conference out of town for a few days. Away from Mark, away from our house, away from the life that felt like it was suffocating me. One night, after a few too many drinks, we ended up in his hotel room. It wasn't gentle or tender like with Mark. It was raw, feral. He wasn't trying to make me feel safe or loved. He was trying to make me feel everything, all at once. And I did. For that night, I was Cassandra, the wild, passionate woman, not Mark's placid wife. When it was over, I felt a strange mix of exhilaration and terror. I had crossed a line, a huge, undeniable, screaming line. But in that moment, looking at Leo, still breathing heavily beside me, I truly believed this was what I needed. This was real love. This was what I had been missing all those boring, predictable years with Mark. The comfortable life with him suddenly felt like the biggest lie I had ever told myself. I truly convinced myself that this new, intense connection with Leo was my salvation, my destiny. Mark was the past, a comfortable, cozy blanket I had outgrown. Leo was the future, the sharp, exciting knife that would cut me free. I started dreaming of a life with him, filled with spontaneity, travel, intellectual debates, and passionate nights. He'd talk about taking me to South America, to Bali, to places where we could truly explore ourselves. He was so convincing, so mesmerizing. I told him I'd leave Mark. I told him I loved him. And he'd look at me with those burning eyes and say, I know that was his typical response. Always a little aloof, a little detached, but I interpreted it as strength, as a quiet intensity. What an absolute idiot I was. What a naive, stupid, self-centered idiot. The shattering of that fantasy was brutal. It came right after I told Mark, or rather, tried to tell Mark. I called Leo. After that truly pathetic, cowardly phone conversation where I blurted out, I think I want a divorce, to Mark, his voice filled with confused silence on the other end. I called Leo, shaking, expecting him to be thrilled, to tell me he was on his way, that our new life was beginning. Instead, he was quiet.
Too quiet.
And then he said, Cassandra, what are you doing? And my heart plummeted. What do you mean? I asked, my voice thin. I told him. I whispered. I told Mark. I'm leaving him. For us, there was a long pause. And then he said, Cassandra, I thought you understood. This was fun. This was temporary. I'm leaving next month. Going back home. My girlfriend, she's expecting me back, girlfriend. Girlfriend. Not ex-girlfriend, not former partner, but girlfriend. My entire world fractured. It was just a fling to him. A temporary distraction. He never once, not once, mentioned a girlfriend. He never once hinted that he wasn't serious about me. Or maybe he did, and I just chose to hear what I wanted to hear. The truth was, he never said he loved me. Not really. Just I know, and I had built an entire future on that knowing. The entire grand, Passionate future I'd envisioned with him dissolved into nothing but an echoing silence. The truth about my affair didn't come from my confession. Not really. It came from Mark. He had known somehow, or he'd suspected. It wasn't one of those dramatic, tearful confessions you see in movies, where the guilty party breaks down and spills their guts. No, I had just blurted out that I wanted a divorce over the phone with no explanation because I was a coward and Leo had just blindsided me. Mark, bless his truly good heart, calmly suggested we talk in person. I went home, expecting a fight, expecting tears, expecting to have to explain myself, to justify, to apologize. I had a whole speech prepared about how I needed to find myself, how I couldn't stay in a relationship that didn't make me feel alive. But when I walked in, he was just sitting there at the kitchen table, calm as could be, a neatly printed stack of papers in front of him. Texts, GPS data, photos. He'd been tracking my movements, checking my phone bills, following my lies. He showed me screenshots of my hushed text to Leo, the heart emojis, the can't wait to see yous. He had even somehow gotten a copy of the hotel bill from the conference, with 2 room service orders, one delivered very late at night. He had been compiling evidence, methodically, silently, while I was off playing the passionate fool. He looked at me, not with anger, not with sadness, but with a cold, almost clinical detachment. So, he said, his voice flat, "You want a divorce? Consider it done," and that was it. There was no begging, no yelling, no emotional outburst. Just a quiet, absolute finality that hit me harder than any scream ever could have. He had already contacted a lawyer. He had already sorted out what he wanted to take, what he'd leave for me. Within 24 hours, he was gone. His clothes, his books, his tools, even his side of the bed was stripped bare. He just left. He changed the locks within the week. He closed our joint bank accounts and set up a new one for me with a small transfer, enough to cover my half of the bills for a month. He blocked my number, blocked me on social media, blocked me everywhere. Our friends, they were his friends, really, they vanished too. No calls, no texts, nothing. It was a clean break, surgically precise, executed with a devastating efficiency that I never knew he possessed. And while I was reeling from this, from Mark's complete and utter abandonment, Leo, my exciting mirage, sent me a final, brief text. "Look, this is messy. You brought this on yourself. Don't contact me again," and that was the end of that. My great passion. My big escape.
Gone.
Both of them.
Just like that.
The social isolation was immediate and suffocating. My phone, which had been buzzing constantly with Leo's secret messages and my friends' casual check-ins, went completely silent. Mark's friends, who had been our friends for over a decade, vanished. I tried reaching out to Sarah, but even she was hesitant. She listened, but there was a coolness in her voice I hadn't heard before. She kept saying, "Mark is devastated, Cassie. He really loved you, not. I know you were unhappy, not. What can I do?" Just Mark. Always Mark. My own family, they were confused, then angry. My mother, who loved Mark like a son, called me selfish, delusional. "How could you throw away such a good man? What is wrong with you?" she'd scream. I tried to explain, to apologize, to make them understand my profound, suffocating dissatisfaction. But there was no explanation that would suffice. No apology that would be accepted. The wall of rejection was impenetrable. And then the news started filtering back to me. Always through indirect channels, through whispers from distant acquaintances, through social media posts I wasn't tagged in but somehow still saw. Mark was flourishing. Flourishing. He started hitting the gym, getting into incredible shape. He got a promotion at work, something he'd been wanting for years, but never pushed for. He bought a new car, a sleek, sporty thing, nothing like the practical sedan he'd always driven. He looked a lighter.
Happier.
Every photo I accidentally stumbled upon showed him smiling, genuinely smiling, his eyes sparkling with a new kind of freedom I had never seen when we were together. He was doing all the things I had complained he never did, trying new restaurants, going on spontaneous road trips, learning how to surf. He was living the exciting life I had deluded myself into thinking I could only have with someone else. While I was still in the same house, but now it felt empty, hollowed out. My life had not become exciting, it had just become stagnant. A wasteland of my own making. The truth bomb, the absolute soul-crushing one, came from Mark's mother. I ran into her at the grocery store, accidentally. Thankfully not on purpose. I saw her from across the aisle and almost ran the other way, but it was too late. She saw me, and she walked straight up to me, her eyes like chips of ice. "Cassandra," she said, her voice low, but clear enough for people nearby to hear. "I want you to know something. My son, he loved you so much. He gave you everything. And you repaid him with lies, with betrayal, with humiliation." She paused, her eyes narrowing. "You broke him. But he rebuilt himself. And he is stronger now.
Happier. You thought you were so special, didn't you?
That you deserved more? Well, you got what you deserved. Nothing. And you will never find a love like his again. Not when you've shown everyone exactly what you are." She didn't wait for a response. She just turned and walked away, leaving me standing there, clutching a bag of organic kale, feeling utterly, profoundly, completely exposed and worthless. And then came the final blow. I saw it on social media. A mutual acquaintance, who must have forgotten I was on her friend list, posted a picture.
Mark.
And a woman. She was beautiful, vibrant, radiating warmth. They were standing in front of a house, a different house, and she was holding up her hand, a sparkling diamond on her finger. Engaged. My Mark. Engaged. And looking happier than he ever looked with me. Happier than I had ever seen him, even in the early days. It wasn't just a new relationship. It was a promise of a new future, a family, a life he had wanted with me, but I had so carelessly, selfishly, foolishly thrown away. They say time heals all wounds, but for me, it just deepens the scars. I try to tell myself I don't regret choosing myself, choosing to want more. I tell myself that I learned a lot, that I experienced passion, even if it was fleeting and ultimately hollow. I rationalize it, I do. I tell myself that Mark couldn't handle me, that he was too safe, too simple, that he was holding me back from some grander, more exciting destiny. But then I see his face in that engagement photo, beaming, truly, genuinely happy, and I see the beautiful woman beside him, and I think, she gets the exciting life now. She gets the new car, and the surfing lessons, and the spontaneous trips. She gets the Mark who evolved after I broke him. And I'm just here, alone, still in the same house, but it's no longer home. It's a tomb. I'm 34, and I feel like I've lived a lifetime, but it's a lifetime of mistakes. I'm a cautionary tale, I guess. The woman who had it all and threw it away for a fantasy, only to end up with nothing. What's wrong with me? I ask myself that every single day. What the F is wrong with me?
I don't know the answer.
I still don't. And I'm not sure I ever will.